Hey guys, so I have been having trouble with my Facebook Live videos, and I just did this video and it's saying it didn't work. So I wanted to hop on here once again because I feel like it's such an important subject, and a lot of misunderstandings are happening around this. So I wanted to hop on here and just go through it one more time in case my previous video did not work, because I don't know if I'll have a chance to later. So the point of this live video is to explain the difference between turmeric essential oil and the botanical turmeric. There's a lot of confusion out there of why they're different. They are not the same, so I want to clear that up for you. And I have some notes I'm going to be reading from because it's kind of a lot of information, and I'm going to be sharing my laptop screen. But I think that if you can get through it with me and get through the sciencey part of things, you'll understand why you should be using the essential oil instead of the supplements, or at least in conjunction with the supplements. So I'm going to flip my screen and share my laptop, and hopefully if you already saw this video, if it actually did work online, that's okay. Maybe you'll hear it a second time and learn a little bit more. Okay, so when you look at the constitution of the botanical, it's really broken down into these three parts. So you see this big gray area, and you've got the curcuminoids, and you've got the tumerons. So the bulk of the botanical is water, proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, fats, and fiber. So a lot of people will say, oh, this is fat soluble, so when you take your turmeric, you want to make sure you're taking it with a fat, obviously aside from that water. But the funny thing is that's such a misconception, because we don't take turmeric for this portion of it. We can get all these things elsewhere in our diets. The thing that we want from the turmeric, we want those curcuminoids and we want those tumerons. So we are actually going to talk more about the curcuminoids and the tumerons to kind of break it down for you a little bit more. So let's get into the curcuminoids. Okay, so the curcuminoids have created a lot of buzz. You've probably heard that word before. The buzz is because they have such a broad spectrum of activity that they represent and can work in our bodies. This is what you see when you take a supplement of turmeric. It's those curcuminoids. The problem is that these are large water-soluble molecules, and because of that, you actually get poor absorption and reduced biological activity. And so the poor absorption also means it's rapid metabolism and rapid eliminations from our system. So you're not really getting to use those curcuminoids properly in our body, unless, of course, they are paired with certain things, which a lot of people don't understand. They just will take the turmeric supplement. They think they're getting all these curcuminoids, but they're really not. So one cool thing about doTERRA is we recognize this, and so we know that curcuminoids are great for you, and we're getting these as you take your lifelong vitality supplements. If you add the deep blue polyphenol supplements, you're getting a great amount of those curcuminoids. But the cool thing is doTERRA, they combined the botanical with the proper essential oils, and that increases that bioavailability of the curcuminoids by 7%, which is not what you're going to get when you're using curcuminoids, the turmeric from the health food store. All right, so now we are going to jump to tumerons and why the tumerons are so important as opposed to those curcuminoids they're important, and we need them in our system, like with the vitamins and with those deep blue supplements, but not just as a supplement by themselves. And if you're just jumping on now, just watch the live video again so you can see why the curcuminoids by themselves aren't as helpful for our bodies. Okay, so the cool thing about these tumerons, they're volatile aromatic compounds. So what this is showing you is the tumerons, they come from the essential oil itself. The amount of tumerons we have from the botanical is somewhat small. So one of the things that has to happen is it has to be extracted as the essential oil. So you can do a CO2 extract or the essential oil, like the distillation that doTERRA does for the essential oil. So I'm going to explain to you why we distill turmeric the way we do, and why most companies will do the CO2 extract to get those tumerons, and why that's not great for us in our bodies. So basically, the CO2 extraction process, actually I'm gonna go here first. One funny thing, when Dr. Hill was doing his research on this, he came across a label that said turmeric CO2 essential oil. The funny thing is CO2 extract is not an essential oil, contrary to this label. But But let's talk about what the CO2 extraction is. The process is actually selective. So we get other things besides essential oils when they use the CO2 extraction process. We don't get all of the volatile chemistry from the essential oil. We have a partial chemistry profile, and that's a problem. If you know doTERRA well enough, you know that we are looking at that profile very carefully, and a partial profile would never fly with the company. We need that full, consistent profile. So when the chemistry is inconsistent in its ratios, then there is inconsistency in the benefits in our body. So that's super important to recognize. That kind of explains why that CO2 process is not the best for us. Okay, so then if you look at this curcuminoids report, if we have the CO2 extract, it's really high in those curcuminoids with that process. But once again, you're getting very little of the tumerons. We do not want the curcuminoids as much as we want the tumerons. So that's where the problem comes in with that CO2 extraction process as well. And so with the way we are distilling for the essential oil, we get nothing but all of those tumerons. So that is great, because those are those volatile aromatic compounds that we need. And the compounds we're looking for are the different tumerons. So there's alpha tumerons, beta tumerons, and then something called aromatic tumerons, or AR tumerons. And that's exactly what we are looking for to work in our body the way that we want this turmeric to work. So the substantial amount of the AR tumerons is an advantage to us because it makes the essential oil bioavailable. It can easily cross through and cross over the different membranes and planes that it must cross to be active within our body. And that's a huge benefit, guys. It's not like those curcuminoids that are going to our elimination system and not getting used. It readily absorbs and can easily act on the cellular membranes. Okay, so some of the key benefits of the turmeric essential oil: the natural tissue support that it offers, increased antioxidant capacity within the body, it sustains cardiovascular health, it supports and preserves brain function, and it's neuroprotective. And speaking of neuroprotective, the cool thing that doTERRA did, we are studying we're studying that right now, and they did a study on those tumerons, and they basically found that let me make sure I'm referencing my notes, because this is important and I definitely don't want to miss. We wanted to see that if the turmeric essential oil would create the advantage of protecting some of the most delicate cells we see in the central nervous system, with dendritic cells in the brain specifically. So I wanted to read that from my notes because that's an important key thing to take away from here. And so here's what the findings were. So we looked at healthy and stress neurons. So the healthy neurons in the presence of turmeric oil demonstrated improved neurological response and greater resilience. And then the stress neurons in the presence of the turmeric oil demonstrated greater health and activity. So that's great. If you're healthy, it provides support. If you need the help, if you've got stress neurons, it provides support as well. So we can all benefit greatly from this turmeric essential oil. So let's talk about the applications. My favorite way to use turmeric is to drop a couple of drops in a veggie capsule and take it internally. That helps with the cells and the protection of your body. That's going to be one of the better ways to use the turmeric oil. You can also use it topically to calm tissue irritation. You can use in combination with mandarin or yarrow palm. When you combine the turmeric with those, it has advanced benefits. So keep that in mind as you're using your turmeric oil. All right, y'all, I'm going to turn this. Hopefully your big takeaway from this live presentation was that the turmeric essential oil is completely different from the supplements that you're going to get at the health food store. If you had to choose one or the other, the turmeric oil is what you want to choose because it's high in those tumerons, which have the greatest benefits in our bodies, as opposed to the curcuminoids, which are not actually absorbing all the way anyway, the way that they're designed in the health food store. It looks great. You hear the word curcuminoids and you know that they're good, but if you're not absorbing it properly, it's not necessarily the best way and the best use out of the turmeric. So doTERRA, the scientists went in, they researched, they figured all this out, and it's really great that they could bring us this turmeric essential oil so we could get the best benefits from this root that Mother Nature gave us and that God gave us.